Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news going out when it comes to a lot of really big AAA PlayStation games, some drama, and some other little various things all kind of floating around that we're going to go and talk about as of today. This is kind of talking about some of the bigger games, such as the upcoming Rise of the Ronin. Last of Us actual news for Last of Us 3 and the also factions has been getting a little bit more drama too as well. Some Roblox news and a few little various things, leaks, and pictures I want to go and show you guys all throughout today. As well, if you guys are doing any stuff for the 4th of July today, kind of some people do it beforehand, be safe, and as well if you guys are doing stuff tomorrow, hopefully you guys don't mind a little bit on the laid back side this holiday weekend. So I hope you guys all appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys all so much for hanging out. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, give your thoughts and comments all down below. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below as well, all the Amazon links too, and I appreciate y'all so much for watching. Let's go and dive on into the video itself. So right, first and foremost, we actually had some really big news when it came to for the Rise of the Ronin. Now I'm going to show you guys some of these like leaked pictures and all this type of stuff. It came over here from Discord that's now been floating away and around. If you guys have not seen Rise of the Ronin, it's probably going to be one of the bigger games, I would say, for the upcoming next year. It was also showcased at the PlayStation, basically event itself, too. So it may not be the biggest one. We'll get to the bigger stuff right after this one, where, first and foremost, we now have the official Discord leak over here from Soldier Delta stating, the game itself is a mix of Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima, and Dark Souls. Now, I know, honestly, just the basis off of that sounds amazing. Like, I like the RPG, maybe, if it's not too hardcore, elements of the Assassin's Creed, but also maybe, like, more so on the jumping, kind of like motivation, sneaking around, all that type of stuff. I like that. That's a good vibe. Ghost of Tsushima is a very more so, like, just kind of like pure fighting style, which kind of gives me, like, more of a Sekiro vibe as well. Really like that gameplay loop for Ghost of Tsushima. And then Dark Souls 2 on top of that, as you guys know, the Soulsborne, Elden Ring type games. Many item descriptions are used to make the lore bigger, so a lot of that type of stuff will be a really big lore environment, such as like Elden Ring, etc., or Dark Souls type style games, as well as produced in a craftsmanship style associated with a renowned blacksmith named Okisako Nagasone, who lived in Musashi during the 17th century, also known as the Koketsu, whatever, all that type of stuff. So basically, I just give like the big rundown of like, it's a very lore-based game, a lot of different types of side quests that are more like Ubisoft side quest designs, which may not be the best thing. Difficulty options, always nice. Skills and technique trees, always good for samurai-based games. Performance and quality modes too as well, to improve the fidelity before launch, and it's also planned on Q1 2024. And one really big intriguing thing is on the romance options. Now let me go and actually show you guys up a little bit of gameplay up in here from the trailers itself, just so you guys can have like a rough idea in case you guys aren't just like fully familiar with it or anything else in between. This was from a state of play not too long ago. So as we had a chance to kind of go and see the gameplay itself, it looks good. Like, it looked like a game I was pretty hyped up for myself. You guys may have seen just some of this. It looks like a little bit more of a bigger, more open-worldy type style game, too, as well. This quality looks a little bit on the potato side, but what can you kind of go and do? But yeah, it looked kind of cool. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of new IPs. I like the idea of games that are also more on the challenging type side. So once again, thinking more of like a, Ghost of Tsushima, challenging. Dark Souls, challenging, etc., etc. And obviously, it looks like it's more story-based as well, as you guys can kind of see some of these types of scenes. But as you guys can probably see from this, it looks very Ghost of Tsushima-esque. This looks very Assassin's Creed-esque. And then, well, just on the overall game itself, looks kind of more, I don't necessarily want to say like Dark Souls off of this, maybe more so, like I said, Sekiro type style, at least in my opinion. So very cool they get to go and see this one. I thought it was a very intriguing game. We can go from that. Now, some other things to kind of go and talk about too is on The Last of Us. Now, The Last of Us actually a little bit more leak drama coming out today, where The Last of Us 3 leaks actually might sound a bit more on the faction side instead. Recent leaks surrounding the alleged existence of The Last of Us Part 3 dig into the game's story, but we think it'd be more so for The Last of Us factions. They had a lot more brand new information coming out with this, saying Naughty Dog is keeping The Last of Us fans on their toes when it comes to the future of the franchise. Some folks were assuming a Last of Us 3 was going to happen, some folks were assuming the factions, some folks were thinking the factions were going to go get canceled, or more so just going to be like way in the back burner. So the success of HBO's The Last of Us TV show has generated more interest than ever in one of the best PS5 games ever, and now reputable leaker Daniel RPK claims to have more information surrounding the plot for The Last of Us Part 3, though it sounds more fitting for The Last of Us factions, interestingly enough. Kind of go either way. So since the reveal of The Last of Us factions concept art, the imagination of fans has run wild. Hopeful that a third game would be announced, Daniel PK claims via Resetera, basically the leaking form, user Bolts, that a third game will reportedly focus on now, and this is kind of a cool idea, I want to hear your thoughts on this, a group of scavengers surviving on the outskirts of a post-apocalyptic city crammed into a Victorian house that serves as their base. So instead of it being more of like just a one singular person, or maybe a few split people throughout the game, maybe like a few more split stories, or as well if it's more on the faction style, maybe even imagine multiplayers, maybe more of like a, you know how some games, maybe like a Back for Blood or like a Left 4 Dead if you guys play those games, or even like Redfall if you guys played that. Or maybe it's more of like a somewhat linear type style game, but you can maybe play as different characters or do group quests. I'm trying to think of a better game for an example. Maybe like a Destiny. You can like basically go and choose to do direct missions with folks. Maybe it can be like that type of vibe. You can maybe go and see it. Maybe more multiplayer stuff. Maybe more Division type style. Maybe even DayZ type style. Or to maybe go around and loot, and you can kind of group up and have like a main central base. There's a lot of potential ideas. Even like Tarkov has a similar style for that, so it can kind of go either way. Naughty Dog is proportionally looking for to cast multiple roles for the game too as well. That'll be grouped together a big group of survivors, and the roles are supposedly from the leaks this. Lucas, if you guys know, my name is actually Luke, who is a fathable character, but develops a relationship with another young scavenger and will have a turn to show his dark side. Spooky. Mason, a former soldier who must choose between his loyalty to other characters in the group when Val gets put in charge. Val, who is alleged to be the leader of this group, Ezra, the antagonist that seeks to take leadership from Val, and Grace is a female character said to be aged between 18 and 25. So like a really rough basic idea of who these characters are going to be, but a lot of folks are just hyped up for the game. So it's the very first time we're actually, not the first time we're seeing more information on the actual franchise itself, saying that The Last of Us Part 3 is apparently in the works, but I would probably say that's almost a big duh, not to like say duh in the comment, but more so duh because, well, The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 both did very well, unique IPs, good storylines, and they obviously want to make a Last of Us Part 3 if they want to continue up the TV show. The TV show did very well, so obviously if you can go and, well, make The Last of Us Part 3 come out, by the time Last of Us Part 2, Season 2 comes out, that kind of basically has a really good, easy combination hype train, and then at the same time, then Last of Us Part 3 can be used as a good filler for the actual like people in the franchise as they go and film that, make that, and they can make Last of Us Part 4, or as well, they can maybe even sometimes like simultaneously go and record like the actual environment in the world and introduce other characters as well, so it's not only stuck with like a Joel or Ellie type style, and basically try to dive into other folks. It's just more in the same apocalyptic world that's already been built with the IP behind it. Kind of what I always say you should do for Cyberpunk, where Cyberpunk has that really cool futuristic future vibe city, and you can kind of interplace almost any character with that and make it fun and cool. With the leaker currently dropped scoops surrounding the plots of also Spider-Man No Way Home 2 as well in The Flash, but as always, we advise take it with a grain of salt, as per usual, same here. Interesting, the proposed plot does not refer to Ellie, who is left in a tricky place in the climax of Last of Us Part 2. Naughty Dog doesn't hesitate to shift the focus on his from antagonist before, with the Uncharted franchise and The Last of Us 2 offering different character perspectives through gameplay. So, some folks are maybe assuming because it's based on multiple characters, this may not be Last of Us Part 3, more so based on Last of Us factions, which we have heard and confirmed as in the works so far from official people. So production on the forthcoming The Last of Us multiplayer title remains secretive, but the premise of forging relationships with brand new characters, exploring a fresh apocalyptic setting, and things of loyalty seem fit for a multiplayer adventure. We can't even begin to imagine the betrayal that will take place in The Last of Us factions. A lot of friendships will be tested. Factions initially began life as a multiplayer component for the first game. Now the upcoming title greatly expands on it to fulfill a fully standalone experience, one of the many upcoming PS5 games to keep an eye out for. So I'm pretty hyped up for this one too. It does lean a little bit more on the faction side if I really had to pick and choose. I do think the factions make a lot more sense. I think the idea behind that makes more sense. You have multiple characters, maybe make a multiplayer, have a chance to level up characters, group with your friends or whatever. It makes a lot more sense than The Last of Us Part 3, and I'm sure The Last of Us Part 3, especially because the factions have been in the work for a while, might be just a secondary priority because you still have the IP out, people can play factions, and then they can be a holdover. They need more multiplayer games, especially with the Call of Duty fiasco, and they have a chance to develop into other last IPs. And then last but not least, Roblox. So basically, Roblox is trying to get on PlayStation. PlayStation hoping to get Roblox after a tough stance on child exploitation. So a lot of folks are kind of calling out that Roblox side, even some of the Minecraft side, for basically child addiction or gambling or spending money or just anything it might be, like maybe not a safe space or whatever. But basically, Jim Ryan has confirmed that he's working on having Roblox actually release on the PlayStation 5 in the near future. Didn't mention a specific platform itself. We probably assume a PlayStation 5, maybe a PS4 if it's easy to go and move over there. So they've actually fun enough to relax some of the policies over here for Sony, and they're basically like pushing all these actual nice documentations, and they're like, yeah, we don't really mind as much. We just want more games. People are going to play it either way. If they really want to get a laptop, they can. Might as well put it on a PlayStation itself. There's been a lot of investigations and reports revolving around child exploitation on Roblox itself, and the game has been accused of enabling predators to trick and lure people to as well. So it is like one of those things you want to maybe be worried about and make sure your kids are on top of that. But it does kind of seem like Jim Ryan's going to push for it to be on their console. Maybe not allowing folks to maybe get messages, or as well maybe kind of just make sure chat filters or the games so more on the safer side for kids, and I'm all for it. As long as they make it nice and good, I don't mind that at all. So give me your thoughts and comments. A lot of really good gaming news coming out over here for the PlayStation. Love to hear thoughts and comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below too as well. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.